Coming up on the Best of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast is Texas A&M flying under the radar screen. We go to College Station and catch up with Billy Lucci. Plus, Seth Emerson previews the Alabama-Georgia matchup a couple of months away between the hedges and, of course, your phone calls. It's the Best of the Finebaum Show podcast, and it starts right now.
This is the Best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
This week, a lot of conversation concerning Bobby Bowden, and certainly we have talked that one to death. Bowden apparently was on another show yesterday, John, and said he do I understand him correctly? Say he was ambushed by us?
That's what it sounded like. If that was an ambush, what we did, then I don't know what he would call something else.
Yeah, I've defended Bobby all week, saying that maybe he's lucid and not too old, but apparently he has caught so much flack that he'll be denying he was even on the show before long. But that's okay. We don't really care. We said we did what we did and had fun with it, and that's all that interview was about. That was not supposed to be anything more, and it's just too bad Bobby has been pressured by the wackos and the fringe lunatics that run the Florida State media operation down there, and apparently he's trying to deny that he was ever on. But that's okay. No big deal. 855-242-7285 is our number. Again, pretty quiet Friday. A lot going on outside of football, but inside the world of college football, it is a pretty quiet day.
You're not kidding. And the point of today's show, we're going to go to Tuscaloosa. We're going to go to College Station. We're going to go to Athens, Georgia. In my mind, three programs who think possibly they're in the hunt for the SEC championship. I want to get the vibe of the fans in those areas. You have a program especially like Texas A&M. I was thinking about as far as you look at A&M, you look at their defense, and that's been the problem. They try to rectify that issue, bring on the chief, Chavis from LSU, and if he gets that defense turned around, then A&M will be a force to be reckoned with, especially if they're going to fill up what will become the biggest stadium in Texas, that is Kyle Field. But what about on offense? I mean, you have a wide receiving core who dropped the ball so many times last year. You got a guy in Kyle Allen. Yeah, he had experience at the end of last season. A young kid, sophomore Speedy Noyle on the outside. In my mind, Texas A&M is the biggest question mark in the SEC, and Billy Lucci's a good guy down there. He's got his finger on the pulse. I'm excited to talk to him. A question I wanted to ask you, we threw around this morning at our meeting, Paul, regarding Alabama. At which position does Alabama improve in 2015? Let's start with the offensive side of the football.
Well, I was immediately jumping to the defense, but you're right. I don't think quarterback is a position that they're going to do much improving on. They were in good shape there. Everyone knows the running back and the wide receiver situations were pretty good. Hopefully, the offensive line will be a little stronger.
Yeah, they're going to have more experience, although they did lose people there as well. When you lose Cooper, you lose T.J. Yeldon. Someone made the point that if you lose T.J. Yeldon, it might be actually better for the offense. What were people complaining about at the end of last season? Feed Derrick Henry the football.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe Lane Kiffin will do that and make that running back position better. You like what you see on the defense, though?
Yeah, and Kenyon Drake, too, I think is going to be someone that will play a major role. Defensively, this Alabama team just has to get better. On all sides, not on all sides, but across the board, because I think the defense, while good, has not been great, and that's been the difference between Alabama winning a national championship and not.
I think Nick Saban's going to lean hard on Reggie Ragland, a guy to anchor the center of that defense. And Georgia, lastly, Athens. A question I want to pose to Seth is, how does Georgia overcome perception of failure? They Georgia'd that game. What do you have to do? Do they have to win the SEC? You don't want to go down this road where your program's the team that always loses the big game. That's what Georgia does. I mean, if you go ask a random SEC fan what Georgia will do in their biggest games of the year, that person will say they're going to lose at least one of them because that's what Mark Richt and that Georgia program does. How do you overcome that? You got to go undefeated?
Well, I think they have to do it not so much in baby steps, but overall you have the Alabama game, which will be so much ballyhooed That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
And then you start, even if you beat Alabama, you start getting nervous. Do we have to see them again? I think they have to win the SEC when you get right down to it, because they've been to the SEC championship game a number of times and have not won in a long time, losing to LSU and obviously to Alabama. They need to get back there. They need to take care of Florida as well. That's a game continues to haunt them. So a lot of really interesting issues out there. It's a pretty heavy dose of college football here on this Friday afternoon. Love to hear from you. 855-242-7285. We start off with Roy. Roy, thanks for the call. Good afternoon.
Thank you for taking my call, Paul. If you're on TV and could put the camera on John, I got 2 words that I guarantee is going to make him smile.
Go ahead.
And those 2 words are Wrath Skeller.
Yeah, it's a watering hole in State College, Pennsylvania.
Yes, it is. It's a phenomenal watering hole. And John, I just wanted to commend your fan base on I went there when Joe Paterno, it was the last year, and Alabama went there. I went to the game, and it was by far the greatest away venue I've ever been to. The Raskeller was nice to open at about 8 a.m. I was there. Stayed until about 1, then went to the field for the 2:30 kickoff. And as I was walking around, everybody that I saw, all the Penn State people, they saw me and a couple of my buddies walking. They say, "Hey, Bama." And I looked at them and I said, "What's up?" I thought, "Oh, here we go. Here come the Rowdies." And they said, "Roll Tide, y'all." And I just thought.
Hey, by the way, I don't exactly know what Raskeller means, but when I was in college, there was a Raskeller where I went too. So
Cool.
I know one thing: it had beer.
Yeah, Paul, it was a bar that was underneath the building. You had to go down the road and turn right and go underneath, and it was just a fantastic establishment. And I asked one of the gentlemen there. He was an older guy, very prominent, distinguished-looking gentleman. I asked him. I said, "Sir, I've got to know, when does the brimstone and the smoke and the horns and the fangs come out? What team, when they roll into town, would I see the ugly Penn State fans?" And he said, "Ohio State."
That's right.
Without a
You got
doubt.
that.
So, but anyway, John, I'm a big Alabama fan, but I wanted to give kudos where they're due. If anybody ever wants to travel to a phenomenal venue, if you're not a Penn State fan, if you're not an Ohio State fan, I would definitely say Happy Valley it's just a phenomenal place to go.
You got that
Thanks
right.
for taking my
Roy.
call.
Thank you. I'll tell you this, Paul. Honestly, everyone asks me, why'd you go down to SEC country? Aren't you a Big Ten guy? You don't get what you get at Penn State other places in the Big Ten. You might find it at Ohio State, at Michigan, in Nebraska. I've never been to Lincoln, Wisconsin as well. But as far as the game day atmosphere that you get in State College, Pennsylvania, the only conference that has anything close to that and exceeds it at some points is in the SEC.
More phone calls on a Friday afternoon, and Eric is in Jackson, Tennessee, and you are up next. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Paul. How y'all doing today?
Very well.
Good. I grew up in Big Ten country. I'm from Iowa, and during the Hayden Fry and Chuck Long and the Stoops brothers era, and that was good football, and there is good football in the Big Ten, but it is not SEC football. I've lived down in the South for 20 years, and there's just no comparison of the athletes and the competition and the fan fever and the base. And so I wanted to say that. And the other thing about Alabama has just been irking on me to say is Alabama deserves a lot of credit, and Nick Saban a lot of credit, because they have raised the bar to where college football is, and everybody shoots for that spot. And so without Alabama doing what they've done in the years past, whether or not people like them or not, they have been the place to shoot for, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. And to maintain that spot, I think we can all agree it's probably not realistic over and over, year in, year out, but they are competing. And so I'm not an Alabama fan, I'm a Tennessee fan, but I think they deserve a lot of credit for the state of college football and the quality that we have at this point.
Thank you very much. Lance next in Tennessee. Lance, good afternoon, buddy.
Man, I was so sick of people like Skip Bayless and Bobby Bowden. No accountability, Paul. I can't believe the way they're turning this on your question, man.
What has Skip done now?
It's just yesterday, man. So by the time I get off work, I'd start getting your show. I ain't got time to watch nothing else. I just went back and watched it. He basically said the way you asked the question, invited Bobby Bowden into it, man. That's ridiculous. If you got a
Hold on,
you
no, I
can
didn't say so. Skip blamed the question? Are you kidding me?
He said you
Yeah.
asked the leading question. I saw it. He
Yeah.
said he asked.
It's
He goes.
ridiculous, man.
There was a disclaimer before the segment on First Take yesterday. Skip goes, and I'll tell you what, we love Paul Finebaum, and Stephen A. said, yes, we do.
Ooh.
But he may have asked a leading question using the word embarrassing in the question about Jamie Smith.
I have not really. That's fine. I mean, Skip's a friend of mine. I love Stephen A. But I will tell you, Lance, and as someone who has asked many leading questions in my career, I'm not denying it. I'm not commenting whether I'm proud or not. It's part of the business. That was not a leading question. That was just that question, if you heard it, was, I was just making mention of what happened the night of the draft, and the question speaks for itself. If I wanted to take Bobby down a road, I could have easily done it, and I would have done it a lot more deceptively than I did on that show.
Yeah, that's what makes me mad about sports. There's no accountability. I mean, they want to blame the interviewer. Hey, man, he can talk for himself. But, man, I'm going to say something about what Nick Saban's comments yesterday. I think it proves that Nick Saban's truly a player's coach. And even though he's made it to the top, he ain't forgot about the little guy, man. And I say that speaks a lot about his character, man. And I still don't think Nick Saban gets enough credit for what he did at LSU, man. I mean, they were dead in the water before he got there. Is that right, Paul?
Well, they certainly were struggling. I mean, Nick Saban put that program on the map, back on the map. I mean, LSU fans are among the best in all of sports, but Jerry DiNardo had wrecked the program.
I don't think anybody's saying LSU winning national championship when he did it, though. I mean, I met Florida's on camera beat him that year. I remember that. I was in jail when I watched it, but that's crazy. Hey, Urban's like Bobby Bowden, man. He took
Lance, how long were you incarcerated?
I've been incarcerated a whole bunch of times, but that time out there, it was just 90 days.
Okay.
But, man, I remember like Bobby Bowden, he won't take the easy road. He bailed out, going to Ohio State. And I checked Ohio State, Paul. They ain't been good since the 60s and 70s. So all them people want to call in here running their mouth. Once you win 2 in a row, and don't forget that it took an SEC coach to get you back on top, Punk. And if it wasn't for that flag call in 2002, you shouldn't have won that game. And I'm going to say this, man, and I ain't trying to get people hot. I know, but the only reason I don't have respect for Barry Bryant is because I heard that he wasn't going to the road and play Auburn. I don't know the reason behind it, Paul, because I wasn't alive then. But could you explain that? Do you know why he wouldn't play Auburn on the road?
Well, first of all, that's not exactly accurate.
Okay.
Auburn. Yeah, I mean Auburn. And I really don't know all the details either. I remember when it ended, but that game, Auburn used to play several games a year in Birmingham because their stadium was not. I don't think the stadium was quite up to snuff, and it was also a fairly difficult place to get to. You couldn't fly into Auburn so Auburn would play until I think it was the 70s. Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Alabama up there. The other games went to campus. The Alabama game remained in Birmingham. It was supposed to be a neutral site. It was not a neutral site, I can tell you that flat out, Lance. I covered the game a number of times. You would walk in Legion Field in Birmingham, and the people that helped you, go to your seat were wearing Alabama hats. It was a farce in terms of a neutral site. And finally, Pat Dye in the mid '80s said, "We've had enough of this. We're taking our game back to campus." It took about 7 or 8 years to unwind, and they finally got it back to Auburn for the first time in 1989.
Well, thanks for being honest about that, Paul. And I want to thank you for being honest about Barry Bryant in the 70s, about how Alabama got some of the championships. And I'd much rather hear you talk to Betty than them punks like Darryl calling in, hating on the women callers. I mean, Darryl want to call in bragging about the system caller. And I'm so sick of Georgia fans crying about last year. All you had to do was win the games in front of you. Don't blame Missouri. And everybody said Missouri had an easy schedule. They finished the season at A&M, at Tennessee, and Arkansas. That ain't exactly backing in or benefiting from the schedule, man. All you Georgia fans need to have a hot cup of shut up, especially Darryl, and deal with the fact that your coach can't get it done. Once you fire him and get James Franklin, and then you'll be out of the rut that you're in because you're stuck on average. And don't blame the system for 30 years of absence of a national championship, son. Everybody's been in the same thing. Excuses. Man, it gets on my nerves, Paul. Go Gators.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Cecil Hurd joining us. Always good to catch up with the sports columnists from the Tuscaloosa News as the month of May begins to head toward the hill. Cecil, hope all is well. Good afternoon.
Hi, Paul. Everything's going great.
Well, good. Glad to hear. And Nick Saban spoke several times this week, and it's always news. Let's try to chisel it down and talk about what he said, why he said it, and what does it mean.
Well, I think on a lot of topics that they're just general topics, and you're going to see them come back up again at the SEC meetings in a couple of weeks, talk about satellite camps and tweaking the playoff system a little bit, although the coaches really don't have a voice in that. But what they liked about it, what they did, and of course he's one of the four who participated in it. So he talked about those topics. What he didn't talk about as much was quarterbacks, and I think that's what people are waiting to see is whether Alabama's going to go into the 2015 season with the hand that they were holding at the end of spring training, or if they're going to try and draw another card out of the deck.
Yeah, let's talk about that because first there was Miller, then there were the reports about Golson. I'm sure before the end of the day there'll be someone else. But what's your take on Jacob Coker and what happens from here?
Well, at some point, and first of all, in terms of transfers, I think if that's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. You could say it could happen any time in the summer, but a guy needs to at least know he's coming, look at the offense, try and get some work if that's something that's going to happen. If not, I think Jacob Coker probably was ahead coming out of A-Day, had a up and down A-Day. I thought he was pretty good in the first half of A-Day, and then threw a pick six in the second half. And I think that's been the question that they've had about him. Last year, he didn't get on the practice field until August. It was hard to really make a judgment, but I just don't think he's ever been as consistent as they would like. And so you're talking about a guy with 1 year to play. Do you go with a guy for 1 year if you feel like he's a bit better than a younger guy, or do you go with a younger guy who you think's the future of the program? And I think that's something that they're still discussing and still debating and still waiting to see if there's another option out there. If you can get a fifth-year eligible guy, that doesn't cost you anything in terms of college football costs. If you've got the scholarship, he's going to be on scholarship 1 year. It doesn't keep you from recruiting. It's just either it works out or it doesn't. So if somebody's out there and available and it can all be worked out, I still think they put another guy in the mix in August and see what happens. If not, you've got Coker, you've got Cornwell, you've got Blake Barnett, you've got Cooper Bateman. You've got guys who've been there, but I just don't know that you've got anybody that's been consistent enough for them to feel comfortable saying, well, this is our starter. They certainly couldn't do it today.
If not Coker, and let's assume that no one else pops up off the waiver wire, what is the most likely next quarterback in?
Probably David Cornwell. Probably so. Has, again, looked good at times. May not have been as consistent as they'd like, but has a year in the program. Blake Barnett, who's out of California, who I think they like. I think he really physically just needs a redshirt year. That just needs to get bigger and stronger and will be a pretty good quarterback when that happens. But I think to put him in there this year, I just think he's a year away physically from really being the guy. Now, they may decide he's got the best talent and take a chance on that. They hadn't ruled anything out, but I would think it would be Coker then Cornwell in that order. And it's interesting. I don't know that they looked at it in the same way, Paul, 4 or 5 years ago when your colleague Greg McElroy, who's certainly a fine quarterback, certainly had some time in the NFL, but it used to be you felt like if you could play, and let's go back beyond Nick Saban to Gene Stallings, if you could play good defense, if you could be sound in the kicking game, make field goals, and run the football, that you could win as long as your quarterback didn't beat you. But football's changed. You can't win at the level that Alabama expects to win, or Ohio State, or anybody that wants to be in the 14th playoff, scoring 17 points a game anymore. You just can't do it. And so to score 31, 35, 38, what you're going to need to win some of these football games, you've got to have a quarterback who can make plays. They found one last year in Blake Sims. Even in games where Blake didn't play exceptionally well, he like Arkansas. He made plays. He kept in games when they're behind against Auburn. But Blake can do some things in the run game and make some throws and made plays. And they've got to find somebody that can make plays and at the same time not turn the ball over enough to where you can't dig out of a hole. Because football, and Nick Saban talks about it, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, but football today isn't even the football that he won the national championship in 2009 with. It's a different game. The college game has changed that much in 6 years. At some point, you're going to have to score 38, 42, 45 to win a game.
Cecil, several people have, and this has been going on for some time, have suggested Saban's comments indicate maybe he's dissatisfied, maybe he's thinking of retirement. One radio host, Tim Brando, as a matter of fact, openly predicted that Saban was going to retire at the end of the year. Another one of your colleagues yesterday had a column, Kevin Skarbinski, who was on. I'm not trying to get you in, put you in the position of reacting to what others say. You are very close to the scene. We all know that. That's why we enjoy these conversations so much. But have you seen anything, read anything into Nick Saban's behavior or comments recently that would suggest that this is it?
If you're basing it on that he's complaining about satellite camps, or he's complaining about pace of play, or he's complaining about something that he doesn't seem happy, I would be much more of the mind that he's about to retire if all of a sudden he stopped complaining about things. He's always complained about things. He's a highly competitive head coach, as the most successful head coaches all are. He worries about every angle, every implication of every rule. He thinks about these things. He weighs them. He considers them, and he talks about them. And he'll express an opinion. So to say, oh, he doesn't like the way this is going or the way that's going, that's just his nature. I think I would be much more inclined to say, wait a minute, he's losing interest. He's going to want to do something else if he wasn't complaining about things.
Good answer, and we'll leave it there. Cecil, always good to visit. We'll see you soon.
Okay, talk to you, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Tammy is next.
Paul,
Yes.
I haven't got to hear you for a couple of weeks or maybe even longer than that. It's been so long since I've heard you. But you know what? Alabama don't have a quarterback. For real? And that's a question I'm asking you.
Now they have Jacob Coker.
Paul, you just heard Cecil say that he is not a quarterback. Might as well say that. He might as well say
Tammy, to save us all some aggravation here, what's the point?
The point is, Alabama, I'm going to say this slow so all them Alabama fans out there can understand. Alabama Crimson Tide does not have a quarterback.
Okay. I think I heard you loud and clear.
Hallelujah, Paul. I am so happy. That just made my day to learn that Alabama don't have a quarterback. Because you know why? Because you know that guy said a while ago that he didn't think any team in the SEC is going to go undefeated. Well, he's wrong about that. But I can promise you he's right about Alabama. Alabama is not going to go undefeated. Auburn will go undefeated. And as a matter of fact, Auburn is working their way across the board on being championship. Not in just one aspect of the program, but all the programs. So y'all pay attention. For the next 5 years, you will see Auburn University be national championships across the board in every aspect of sport. War Down Eagle. And Pat Dye will always be better than Bear Bryant. War Down Eagle.
Will is up next. Hey, Will, thank you. Whatever she said.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
Pat Dye, who never won a national championship, better than a guy who won 6.
Yeah, don't get Miss Betty started either.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to ask you about this LSU bankruptcy. I heard it's a $1.6 billion hole. Have you ever heard of such a thing in your life?
Not really.
Who cares? Who cares about bankruptcy when you can build a lazy river on campus?
Oh my God! I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, we all know football drives the bus for these institutions. It's a state school with no major competition at all in state, and this deficit is scary to me. I mean, I don't understand it, and it's coming down to nitty gritty, and I'm just kind of. I mean, you see, UAB had to cut the football program, and I know they'd never go that far, but it's just really troubling for I'm just kind of befuddled over the whole thing, and I just want to know, in your experience, which is vast, have you ever heard of this craziness?
I can assure you, of all the things I am an expert on, I am not a bankruptcy expert.
I am a lazy river expert, though. It's brilliant. Why not put a lazy river on every SEC campus?
Oh my goodness.
College co-eds out there. You bring recruits to campus. You say, here you go. This is what we've got here.
Oh, my God, it's embarrassing. I mean, geez. I mean, this team has played for 3 national championships in the last 12, 13 years. How much money have they made for that? And this one, people should go to prison for this when they get to the bottom of it. But, it's befuddling. But, I didn't want to get bogged down in it. But when I saw that number, it was such a large, I mean, we're not talking a couple million. We're talking about the deficit of, small country. It's ridiculous. And those people should, it's like Edwin Edwards all over again. I know you remember him.
I do remember Eddie, and one of the great characters of all time.
I met him once. Well, I was really small. My mother, was a waitress at a fine dining establishment, and he was, from what I remember, he was a very pleasant man. But
Edwin Edwards, for those who don't know, he was elected, I think his last term as governor while under federal indictment.
Exactly, and then he ran again when he got out of prison, which I thought was not possible, right?
It didn't work out well then, but I was in New Orleans a couple of years ago, Will, and I saw. He had gotten married again to Edwin Edwards. I think he's still alive. Could be wrong about that. He was in his mid-80s and married a 25-year-old or something.
Right. That blonde.
Yeah. He always had a good sense of humor.
Oh yeah. I mean, Pat Dye's better than Bear Bryant. Come on, Tammy. But hey, love your show, Paul. You're the man, brother.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Jerome is up next in the Ham.
What's going on, Mr. Finebaum?
Hey there, Jerome.
Hey, listen to me, man. Let me tell you something. We don't care about tell Billy Lucci. Listen, they can search Texas A&M. They can do more than circle Alabama. You hear me? It's going to take more than a circle and John Chavis. You can best believe that. Texas A&M just going to be in the way when the state of Alabama come through Texas this year, Finebaum. So we can just put that in the bank and deal with. Now, as far as the SEC and the Big Ten, Paul, the Big Ten is not back. As far as I'm concerned, Ohio State is back. Nobody else in the Big Ten has showed Jerome anything to tell me they are forced to reckon with when it comes to the national championship. So Minnesota and the rest of y'all clowns, you can go back to ice hockey or whatever, because national football is just out of the picture for y'all clowns. And Paul, let me tell you something. As far as Stephen A. them, Paul, Stephen A. them, they had nothing else to talk about, Mr. Finebaum. Listen to me. You the president of college football. Them clowns can find something else to talk about as far as you. You have nothing else to talk about. Here you go again with Nick Saban. He leaving, he retired, he mad, he this. No quarterback, no nothing. Finebaum, once again, when we go to the national championship in the playoff, you're going to tag along to Roll Tide and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. Miss talking to you. About Will next in Pensacola, Florida. Hey, Will.
Hey, what's going on, Paul Wall?
Hey, good to hear from you.
Hey, man, doing good, man. I'm getting scared, all of your callers, man. I'm telling you, you probably need to, get you another insurance plan out there or something. Call it the Finebaum Institute or something, because these people have my blood pressure all raised up with the ignorance that they be sitting on here. Because I was trying my best yesterday to get onto the phone when that old lady was talking about Nick Saban ain't no Paul Bear Bryant. I was like, oh my God, like, is this the only thing the Alabama fans talk about? Because she was sitting up there talking about, like, you can't compare the two. Like, yes, we know that you cannot compare the two. That's two different eras, two different times of opponents and everything. Because I don't even know who the starting quarterback for Paul Bear Bryant was doing those runs. I think it was Moses. I don't know. And so you got all these people that are putting so much energy into Nick Saban for what though? Like the man is he's a guru. He's a great coach. He is what he is, but he's in his own time. All this talk about Nick Saban and Paul Bear Bryant, I still don't see in my eyes. I still don't see Nick Saban messing with Urban Meyer. That's just in my eyes. It's all personal opinion at the end of the day, because you really can't even compare the two, because it's two different styles, man. But I just want to say I love your show, because everybody can just come on here and talk like we just sitting at the family house talking crap. Everybody drunk and just having a good time. But you be blessed again,
Thank you very much. I love that description. One of my favorites. Appreciate it. Larry is up next. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Paul. What's up, man?
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man. Tammy, come on there, brother. Hey, I met her in Old Charlie's about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Her and her husband, John.
She's still married?
Yeah. Huh?
I'm glad to hear she's still married.
Yeah, man. He is sitting over there, and we were talking about the new player that Auburn got, the best player in the country. Yeah. I said, well, maybe Auburn will go 9-4 instead of 8-5. And then he said, you know who that is over here, don't you? And I said, no. I looked over, and it's Tammy. Oh, my God. And she don't care if there's one person in a restaurant or 100. She is so damn loud. And she pointed a butter knife at me, Paul.
Did she really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, but me and John thought to go fishing. I think she put a stop to that. But Tammy, if you're listening, hey, you had a quarterback last year, 8-5, and from Ed and from Nantucket. What's up, Jack? Roll Tide.
Oh my goodness, what a day! We're getting all the great callers today.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Glad to have Billy Lucci back on the show, old friend of ours from out in Texas, from TexAgs.com. Billy, it's been too long. I hope the winter and early spring has been good to you. Good afternoon.
It's been nice and rainy out here. So someone told me today we're at the halfway point of the college football off season. So that's along with Memorial Day. That's a good little checkpoint to cross.
Before we get to the Aggies, when we last visited with you, we were talking about your friend Johnny Manziel. What's going on with him, and what can you tell us?
He's, by all accounts, which is always good to hear when it's not just your own, but he's doing great up there in Cleveland. He's been a new man, so, I think, Paul, I'll say this, I've spent some time with him. I think even the first week he got out, we went and attended a Rangers game together, and he's as focused on football and as excited about football, I think, as I've seen him in a long, long time, if not ever. He's got that early college passion back that we saw at times his sophomore year, most notably, leading up to and during that Alabama game. The guy that was sprinting 95 yards down the field after a touchdown to Mike Evans, and jumping up into the stands at the end of the Duke game. I mean, things like that kind of, you saw it kind of come and go his sophomore year. They even thought throughout his freshman year. But he's as focused on the game and being a successful NFL quarterback as I think anyone could be right now. So that's good. And then just from a personal standpoint, he's in probably the best place he's been since I've known him, back when he was a recruit.
Really glad to hear. Well, thanks for that update.
Yeah.
Billy, let's move on to the task of replacing him, even though it's been a couple of years. Certainly a lot of activity. Kyle Allen looked like he had a reasonably good spring. You have Kyler Murray with so much and so many expectations. What's the quarterback situation look like out there?
I think they're really excited about Kyle. I mean, if you look at the SEC landscape, what everyone's got going on at quarterback, and I think half the teams or more in the league would love to have, whether it be Everett Golson, I know there's some roadblocks there, but whether it's Golson or Braxton Miller, it feels like half the conference would be in those sweepstakes if they could. And A&M's got a great situation at quarterback. When you go Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray, I think, other than the fact that he's well under 6 foot, outside of that, I think he's as college-ready a quarterback for this spread system, at least, as I've ever seen. So you've got those two. Kyler, as you know, opted out of the Major League draft. And then to cap it off, they didn't feel good about their situation going into the year with just 2 scholarship guys. So they went out and signed, I think today he actually made the signing official, Jake Hubenak out of Blinn, former Oklahoma State quarterback, who chose A&M over Florida, even with Allen and Murray, and had me scratching my head of why Texas didn't pursue that. But so they've got 3 that they feel really good about. But if you look at Kyle Allen, I think it's intriguing because it goes Dak Prescott, and then I think when you're talking about the second best guy coming back, it's what's the debate? It's probably Allen, Dobbs, maybe Mock, and Auburn will have a say in that, I'm pretty sure, early in the year once he starts playing. But it's a short list, and you could make a case for Kyle as well as you could any of those other guys.
Billy Lucci with us talking Aggies. And Billy, I keep looking at this A&M schedule, and I realize maybe A&M hasn't arrived yet. We know what happened last year, but, I mean, this is really a good schedule. And Arizona State and Houston to start, and then Ball State, Nevada, Arkansas at Jerry's World, Mississippi State at Kyle Field, an open date, Alabama at home, and then a really tough one at Ole Miss, South Carolina at home, Auburn at home, you have Western Carolina in the Cream Puff game, at Vanderbilt, and obviously at LSU. But you talk about a team that could get on a roll here with this schedule. Do you agree?
I think if John Chavis can get that defense respectable in year 1, because I think it's going to be year 2, second and third year, you're going to see them start to field elite defenses with how they're recruiting. If he can have them respectable in year 1, I think they return enough on offense. You said it. It's about as good. Look, it's the SEC and it's the SEC West. It's about as good a draw as you're going to get when it comes to an SEC schedule. Even when you look at teams like LSU and South Carolina, that, look, LSU's beaten A&M 3 years straight, but it's still, those 2 teams aren't going to be the national powerhouse top 10 juggernaut they've been in recent years. It's about as good as you're going to ask for. And when you only leave the state of Texas 3 times, and one of those trips is down I-10 to Baton Rouge, it's as forgiving a schedule as you're ever going to see. And I do think it sets up well. I think that Arizona State game and that Arkansas game are really big because they're both, games that could go either way. And if A&M's playing well early in the year, it could set up where I think the Aggies are one of the more, in a year when you can kind of pick anybody from 1st to 7th in the West, it feels like, A&M's one of those teams that's really intriguing, where you could see them. It's a pretty wide range for the Aggies.
I realize Alabama's always a big game. We spent 6 months talking about the one 2 years ago out there with Johnny, but I would imagine this year, coming off a 59-0 loss, may be marked pretty significantly in some people's minds. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think what happened there last year was, I mean, you saw a team hit rock bottom. Frankly, I didn't know another game outside of ULM after that, and they actually barely beat them before they went out and beat Auburn the next week. And I think it's a game that A&M fans have circled again, and I think it's a game that Kevin Sumlin, these coaches, Sumlin, Saban, Miles, it doesn't matter who, they have as much pride and ego as you well know as any single player does. So there's a big part of Kevin Sumlin that's going to want to get back at, Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin and get their shot. And I think the Aggies need to prove as a program. They played 2 amazing games with Alabama. Won one, lost one. Both of them pretty unforgettable. Alabama's the standard, the standard that's set in the SEC in the West. And I think A&M needs to come out and prove that last year was an anomaly and that the Aggies will, compete with Alabama on the football field year in and year out. And I think they have to prove that not only to themselves, but also there's some pretty heated recruiting battles that are starting to happen in the state of Texas between the Aggies and Crimson Tide.
And let's close with the heated battles in the state of Texas, not so much with Alabama, but with the University of Texas. What's that relationship like? A lot of chatter among the coaches about playing down the road. Give us the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I've talked to enough people, Paul, where they're not going to play in the regular season until at least 10 years from now. You look at the schedules, A&M's got openings in, I believe it's 22 and 23. Those are 2 years where Texas plays Ohio State. I think you saw a pretty clear message, pretty clear indication of that A&M's moved on and is fine with it by the fact that they're going to close the season with LSU every year. And when you see 100,000 coming out for a couple of teams, I think had 3 losses at the time in November, and you look at A&M's much more aggressive non-conference scheduling, they're not going to play a second game like the ones they have scheduled to go along with the SEC schedule. So I've talked to people and been assured that have been zero discussions in terms of A&M and on either side of A&M and Texas getting on the field. We'll see it in the bowl. In a perfect world for this state, you'll see it in the playoff. But to be honest with you, Paul, I just don't. I talk to Aggies and Longhorns every day, and I think there's more of a demand and a desire to see those teams play again based on what looked like it might happen in the Texas Bowl this year. There's way more of a demand and desire, I think, in the media and around the rest of the country than there is in the state of Texas right now.
Always great to catch up with Billy Lucci from TexAgs.com. Just 111 days before the kickoff, and I know you and your fans and all of ours can't wait to get it going. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Seth Emerson joins us from the Macon Telegraph. Really always really kind to us and with his time. Seth, good afternoon. Hope the spring has gone well, and hope you haven't bumped into Everett Golson at the airport.
No. If he did come in and out of here on Wednesday, which we presume he did a good job of doing it under cloak and dagger, which I suspect is what the team wanted.
What is, how did that come about? What do you know about it, and what are the prospects?
Well, what do I know about it? What I know is that normally, I'm not going to say that Georgia's facility, the Mirror building, is a leak fest, but normally if you're trying very hard, you can get someone over there to talk, and this was something where everyone just went dark. And it could have been the time of year, or it could have just been that an edict went down, don't talk about this. So was Georgia interested? Well, I asked Mark Richt on the SEC teleconference Wednesday whether he was. So he had a chance to say no, the way Steve Spurrier was, and he didn't say that. He just said that he's not going to talk about prospects in general. Now, that means that they either were recruiting him and potentially still could be, or, look, he wanted to come here, he wanted to visit. Mark Richt recruited him 4 years ago, had a good relationship, wants to maintain a good relationship with, the coaches in the Myrtle Beach area. So, even though you're happy with your 3 quarterbacks, you go through, the process here. It's not clear which it was. I have never been at the point, Paul, where I thought it was likely to happen. I'm definitely not now. You're hearing more about Florida State now. But look, I don't cover recruiting on a day-to-day basis for a reason, which is it changes so much, and this is recruiting. So who knows? We could find out in an hour that he's coming here, but right now it's not very likely.
Let's move on, since you have answered that one pretty well. Feel like things have settled a little bit with Mark Richt. There are always those critics whenever big games go against the Dogs, which we saw in Florida and South Carolina. But give us your assessment of his career right now, and has most of the noise quieted down?
It'll heat right back up if they lose to South Carolina third game next year. I mean, boy, they go to Vanderbilt the second week and they open with Louisiana Monroe. It'll heat up if they lose to Florida again. I think, Paul, if you look at last year in the macro sense, you go 10-3 with a defense that, while better, was still had some leaky games, and a passing game that did not put up huge numbers. And you finished in the top 10, which is still kind of a special thing to do. I think it's a good year. The problem is the way they lost those 3 games. Any year you lose to Georgia Tech, even if it was in overtime the way it was, a game that could have gone either way, that gets the fan base angry. When you just don't show up against your arch rival Florida, that gets the fan base angry. Losing at South Carolina shouldn't have been any shame in that, but, the controversy over why they didn't give the ball to Todd Gurley. On the other hand, the way they responded to the Gurley suspension by going to Missouri and just throttling them and then doing the same thing a week later against Arkansas, those games spoke to the kind of character that the team showed that they did not show against Florida, for instance. So you've got some people that are just going to remember those 3 games, the 3 losses, and you've got other people who are going to look at this thing in the macro sense. I think settled is kind of a good way to look at it. Is we've kind of settled into he's a good coach, and some people believe that he's going to take Georgia to greatness eventually, if not this year. And there's other people that just believe, that there's been enough of time to show that he can't be a great coach. So people, and I think those people that basically believe, he's done all he can, he should go. I still think that's a small minority, but a minority all have Twitter accounts.
You bet. Who doesn't, including you? Seth Emerson with us chatting about the Dogs. And let's look ahead to the season, because there are a couple of really interesting games. It's hard to look past that Alabama game, though, and I know that that's one that will be talked about often as we get closer to the season.
Yeah, that's probably got to be the biggest game that they've had here in this stadium, maybe the most anticipated since the last time Alabama came in here. And that didn't go well for Georgia. But no. And I go through my memories, and there's been other games I'm sure that were pretty big. The one that was the biggest for the program, I think, the 2 biggest were in the 2012 season, and they were not here. They were at South Carolina and the SEC championship game against Alabama. Clemson game last year was big, too. A lot of anticipation for that. But, Alabama is Alabama, no matter who they are. And the fact they're coming here, when you have a SEC rotating schedule that doesn't really, allow for these matchups to happen every year, that's going to create a lot. But it's funny, Paul, you don't hear a huge amount about that game. And I think part of that is the schedule, and that they've got to get past South Carolina week 3 first. That's the one that looms the largest. And that's here. But it is Spurrier, and they did lose to them last year, and they've lost to them 4 out of the last 5 years. So I get the sense that Georgia fans, they want to get through that South Carolina game. And if they do, if they're 3-0 in that point, then it's going to be crazy just looking ahead to the Alabama game.
Let's talk overall about that schedule, though, because that's not it. And certainly we all know the Georgia schedule, but it seems to me the game at Tennessee also, while it may not rank with Alabama, it's a big one because Georgia has beaten Tennessee in recent years, but the last two have been razor thin.
Yeah. 2 years ago was the year that Georgia had all those injuries, and they seemed to all happen in that Tennessee game, and they escaped in an overtime when Pig Howard dropped that ball by the pylon. Last year, close to. Is it a matter of Tennessee keeps knocking and they're on the verge? I do sense among the Georgia fan base this, a lot of kind of skepticism about Tennessee, as in you always hear that he's close, they're recruiting well, and they're not there yet, but that game's at Tennessee, so that makes it a lot more dangerous. And I think a lot of people are going to pick Tennessee to win the division. A lot of people are going to pick Georgia. I also sense, some respect for Missouri. They've done it 2 years in a row now when people weren't picking them, so they come in here this year too. So I think Georgia fans, again, I think they're going into the year knowing their team is probably the favorite to win the division, but knowing that there are some pitfalls. But ultimately, Paul, they got to play Alabama and Auburn out of division. Nobody else in the East does. So, and I think those are the two games that overall Georgia fans would say those are the ones, if you can get a split of those two, I think they probably actually feel pretty decent about their chances to win the division.
Finally, what we talked about earlier, and that's just this uneasy feeling about Georgia. It's a great program. Everyone knows the winning record of Mark Richt, but it's just been a while. It's been a while since Georgia has won a championship. How often is that mentioned, and do the Dogs have to win the title to quiet that down? The SEC title, I should say.
Yeah, and you would assume that in today's landscape, SEC title equals getting into the playoff. I think there's a substantial amount of people who are going to say that, and they're going to, you hear it pointed out that they haven't won the title since 2005, haven't won the division the last 2 years, and frankly, some of the stalwart programs around the East, like Florida and Tennessee, have not been very up the last few years. But it's like I said earlier, there's Mark Richt is one of those guys who he's built up a lot of goodwill among a lot of people. And I think the other thing is he's made changes, and he's making the kind of changes that are keeping people from thinking that, you're kind of settling into some malaise here. Jeremy Pruitt, this will be his second year as defensive coordinator. In a lot of ways, it feels like he runs the program. He's come in and made a lot of changes, and he has a lot of influence. And there's been a lot of just kind of subtle changes to people on the outside, but people on the inside of the program and the Butts-Mehre building regard them as very, very bigger changes. I mean, Georgia's moved closer to being like Alabama as a program in a lot of ways, in terms of control by the coaches, especially the head coach and the defensive coordinator. So it's made it, there's a little bit more of a sense of newness about it than probably most coaches that have been here this will be his 15th year.
Great stuff, Seth. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Daryl, the big dog, is next from Columbus.
What's going on, Paul?
Hey there, Daryl.
But I'm not the king. I'm not the king of the South. I'm not the king of the SEC. First of all, number 18, is that what I saw?
Number 18. Yeah, number 18, man. I don't know.
I will protest, man. There's no way. On a bad day, you're the top 10. Easily in the top 10 on a bad day. Only friggin' on Saturday and Sunday, you're in the top 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the problem is
probably top 5.
They put LeBron in there ahead of me.
But you did beat out Jim Rose.
Yeah, no, he didn't make it.
Yeah, I saw that. I know that. Hey, first of all, okay, I'll tell you what's kind of ironic about Georgia's season last year is that the Florida game and the South Carolina game, both of them, we had a week off. Both of the games, we had a week off. But then let me give you a breakdown of it, okay? The South Carolina game, Georgia should have won. Missed 3 field goals. Should have won the football game. The Florida game, no excuse, did not show up. No excuse for that. Georgia Tech game, we had them beaten, and we shouldn't have squeal kicked and we'd have beat them. But here's the deal. I mean, that team could have folded up and been done when all that good stuff come out. And they maintained, and people can say whatever they want. I'm going to tell you something, dude. I'll take a top 10 win season every year. That is success, regardless of what anybody else wants to say. When you're considered one of the top 10 teams in the country at the end of the year, that's nothing to hang your head over, by no means. Would you agree?
I would agree. You better believe it.
Absolutely. So all these people, the Mark Rick, give me a break. You finished in the top 10, you've done something. Especially, and it doesn't matter if you went through what Georgia had to go through or not. I'm going to tell you why they were so successful. They had great leaders. We're going to miss David Andrews big time. David Andrews was a hell of a leader last year for that offensive line. Paul, you had a caller that called in earlier and said that the reason that Saban had not named the quarterback yet is because he don't want him to get complacent. I beg to differ. I think he hasn't named the quarterback yet because he's hoping somebody stands up and beats Coker out. I mean, he don't want Coker. He knows it's probably going to happen, but he don't want Coker to be a starting quarterback. It's going to be a long season for the Mavericks, Paul. I mean, look at what a quarterback that wasn't as good as the one they had last year.
Okay, so you know the schedule, Daryl. What would you call for Alabama today?
I would say, and I'm going to be as fair as I can be. I'm saying Alabama would have 3 losses. I mean, it could easily have 3 losses. Now, if they go 9-2 or better, it's a very successful. Regardless,
they are at Georgia, at A&M, at Mississippi State, and at Auburn.
I mean, they lost there. They lost that wide receiver. I mean, he was 90% of their offense. The quarterback's not going to be as good as they had last year. Their secondary is still suspect. They do have a great punter, though. They better be glad. So they're going to be using him, and they're going to be needing him. But they do have a great punter. But, I mean, and I know that the Bama's might not want to hear this, but, hey, if they go 9-2, I mean, that it was a successful season. One last thing. That quarterback at Notre Dame is transferring. We don't need another Quincy Carter at Georgia. I think you are dead on him. I'm not sold on that guy. Let me tell you like this, okay? If that guy was that good, he'd already went to the NFL draft. He wouldn't have to come back for another year if he was that good. I heard Lance coming here, bumping his gums, running this freaking pie hole like he always does. He slow down. You can't understand the word that come out of his mouth. So I just got one word for him. Lance, shut up. See you, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Dennis is next in Tennessee. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
Pretty well, thank you.
Just got a statement and then a question, and I'm going to hang up and listen. First of all, rest in peace to B.B. King. And
oh, my goodness. You bet.
Yeah, and second, I don't know who started it, either Derek Dooley or Lane Kiffin, the battle at Bristol, but do you think that has any impact on Butch Jones being able to recruit to play in a big game like that for these young guys? And I'll hang up and listen to your statement. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't remember when that game came about. We're talking about a game, I think it's next year, at the Bristol Motor Speedway between Tennessee and Virginia Tech. Let me say this. With all due respect to the Bristol Motor Speedway, I don't think too many players, maybe some in Virginia would be interested, but I can't imagine if you grow up and want to play SEC football, you're not going to want to play Alabama every other year in Neyland Stadium. You're going to want to play at Bryant-Denny or between the hedges or against Florida. I don't see playing at a NASCAR event really unless you're just a huge NASCAR fan. Can you, John?
No. I think you'd rather play in a traditional football stadium. It'd be fun, but I can almost promise you that Butch Jones, the great recruiter that he is, that's probably 6th, 7th, 8th, 20th on his checklist when he heads into a recruit's home.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that really being a big deal. Could be wrong. I know it would be a big deal for you, K-Dub, to want to go to a game at a motor speedway, wouldn't it?
I think I pass on that, Bees. I think I could do without that, but I can tell you what I do really want, and it's gonna sound crazy. Just because you know of the history, you know, I never did get a chance to see it. I would like to see Alabama play at Legion Field one more time before they tear that dump of a stadium.
Yeah, well, let me make you one promise, K-Dub. Unless Alabama is in the unnamed college football bowl game, there ain't happening.
It ain't happening. I'm with you on that. It ain't happening. No TV today, bro. No TV today, I see. But look on the bright side, though. At least those Ohio State fans don't know where we at. They think we off today.
Yeah, no, that's the good news. There's always a silver lining.
Yeah, they can't find us. They think we off today. Did I hear a guy from Georgia say Alabama was going to go 9-2 this year?
Yeah, but Darryl doesn't realize we've moved on to a 12-game schedule.
I was going to say, I guarantee you we'll go 9-2 this year. I guarantee you that. And at the end of the year, being in the top 10 is great for any school. No need to hang your head. Alabama finished number 8 this year. You'll hear Darryl on here bashing Alabama every chance he get. Talk about something just because you finish at the top in the top 10 at the end of the year. That's supposed to be a great accomplishment. That's not a great accomplishment at the at the University of Alabama. And I think we would agree on that.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Let me say this too, Beezy. Now, I've been waiting on this one for a while because I just wanted to see how it played out. Don't ever compare Alabama football to Kentucky basketball again, because Kentucky basketball has been forgotten. Ain't nobody said nothing about the great season they was finna have. They not like Alabama. We still talking about we getting beat in the Sugar Bowl. We talking about Oklahoma losses and stuff like that. So there's no comparison in there. They don't get talked about. Like we are under the microscope every single day of our lives. It don't matter what season it is. It could be football season, basketball season, ping pong season, tic-tac-toe season, organized swimming season. It don't matter. It's always bashing Alabama season. Now, let me say one more last thing. Our friend Tammy, welcome back. I'm glad that you decided to join us again. But let me say this. I heard this same thing from Tammy last year. Alabama ain't got no quarterback. Alabama, look at them. They ain't got no quarterback. They got to get Jacob Coker in there. And then at the end of the year, what happened? You had egg on your face. So let me tell you what to do with that egg on your face. Go make an omelet. Roll Tide. Appreciate it, Bob.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Let's get a call from Ryan. Is in Johnson City, Tennessee, not too far from the Bristol Motor Speedway.
Thomas Steve Spurrier right here.
You better believe it.
we try to stay proud of it. No, yeah, just about the Bristol Motor Speedway. You know, a couple of people calling in. I heard your rebuttal on it, and obviously I don't think it's a recruiting tactic, but when you get, I think what that guy from Virginia was trying to say before something happened to his phone is that it is sold out right now, and it's going to be unreal. You're talking about 160,000.
Okay, 160,000. Listen, I'm not sitting here making fun of the BMS. I'm just simply saying that I don't think that is necessarily an incentive to go to Tennessee to play in that game when you have Neyland Stadium and all the other stadiums in the SEC. That was my only point.
Yeah, the problem with the conversation was it started to turn into this recruiting conversation about how these kids would play there. That's not the case at all. As far as fan experience, do I want to see there? Do I want to be there and witness that if the grandstands are full? Absolutely. Is that what they call it?
No, I would love to be at the stadium too, but I don't want people to misunderstand us. I've got nothing against the Bristol Motor Speedway. I just don't think that is as big a deal. I don't think there are players in Virginia and Tennessee right now saying, you know what, I'm going to one of those two schools because I have to be in that game.
No, yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I appreciate your rebuttal also when the guy said something about Neyland, because there has been significant changes, and there's not a seat in that house where it's not a great site. So, anyway, Paul, I can't thank you enough for all what you all do.
Appreciate it, Ryan, and I'm glad we put that to bed. Listen, no one here is criticizing that game. It's a big deal. It's clever, I think, on Tennessee's part to bleed into Virginia. a little bit. And for those who don't know the geography, Bristol, Tennessee is on the Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia line, just like a lot of other cities straddle two fences, straddle two states, and it's a good recruiting tool. Tennessee has done fairly well on the borders, North Carolina, Virginia. So this is a good opportunity. I don't see Virginia Tech getting a whole lot out of it, because I think Virginia Tech is a school right now that has a lame duck coach that has some good times and bad times, but the great times, I think, have long passed them by. Having said that, they opened the season against Ohio State, and they can make all of us look pretty stupid with a win, as they did last year. But you have to follow it up.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Larry next up in Missouri on a Friday. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Mr. Finebaum, how you getting along today?
Oh, I am doing great. Thank you.
Hey, great. Hey, I was really sorry to hear about the show getting canceled finally. Turned the TV on and stopped off.
Larry, let me say this. We had a good run, and, there were a couple of people out there that predicted that we would be done, and you know who they are, and it turned out they were right.
Right. Well, I was going to say Teddy's had a lot more pull than I thought. I mean, he's a TV mogul. I didn't realize that, but we shouldn't have messed with that old boy. We'd still be seeing you. But anyway,
my question there, could you help me with one thing though? I'm over it. I mean, they told me the other day, but I've got a lot of makeup and a lot of ties I need to dump.
Yeah, you do. Well, he could probably help you with that, but I mean, he's bitter, very, very bitter person. But I had to call in because y'all were talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's Dawkins, Georgia. I mean, I did want to thank old Darryl for validating Big Game Bob. I mean, if you're a perennial top 10 program, that's your goal. That's what he is. Except there's one major difference. He's won one and been in 3 of their championship games and won every BCS game. Now, being a top 10 program shouldn't be your goal. I mean, that's for Louisville, Boise, Stanford. Rick just flat ain't done it. Now, that's a fact. But I don't know if you knew, he's a really good man. Plus, too, I keep hearing about this stuff. I keep hearing about this stout front seven for Alabama, but I mean, think about it. If you went against that patchwork offensive line and Jake Coker every day, you'd be pretty stout looking too in all these scrimmages. The last thing I'll say to prove I know all about Georgia football, I'm followed by all 12 of Herschel's personalities on Twitter. Thanks, Paul. Go, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN radio app. Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.